Good evening YouTube, Ian here from Coolice Charge Cases and Power Supplies. As you've come to expect from me, I've got another small video I'd like to show you of a little case. Obviously I'm not going to call it a charge case because realistically it's not a charge case, it's basically a power supply case. Customer came to me and said, Ian, I would like one of your power supplies, and obviously I've gone with the usual server based power supply that I use in all of my cases so far. So I've incorporated that into a small carry case, so it's relatively small to carry around. And the customer also specified that they wanted 3 output voltages from this. So from the power supply itself, I can obviously take the first voltage they wanted, which was 12 volt output. I've then connected or terminated that in a deck mounted XT60, one of my custom 3D printed holders, as you know. The 25 volt output then is terminated in an XT90, again in one of my custom 3D printed holders, and they're obviously mounted flush with the bottom side of the deck. So the connectors obviously just come flush with the top of the deck surface itself, and as you've seen from my previous videos, it looks quite nice and neat. It's worked out nice. The other stipulation with those 2 outputs was the customer wanted to be able to individually turn them on and off. So due to the potential high current that may go through there, I've run with the usual rotary isolator switches that I've used in the past. So I've got one in each of the lines. So I've got one in the 12 volt line and one in the 25 volt line, so the customer can then obviously basically via the switch manually disconnect it, rotate the switch, and it disconnects that output from the 12 volt and the 25 volt output on the XT90s and XT60 mounted on the deck. And that's worked out quite nice and neat again in the deck. They wanted a 3rd voltage as well, which is a bit different. Excuse me, I'm not entirely sure what they're going to use that voltage for, but they wanted a 5 volt output. So I've employed a buck converter, which takes 25 volts and then obviously bucks it down to 5 volt output. And again, I've terminated that in an XT60 that's obviously mounted to the bottom of the deck. So that obviously again looks quite nice. I've used obviously the laser cutter then to create the laminated acrylic legend plates. So obviously I've denoted what each of the outputs are. So 5 volts output, 12 volt output and 25 volt output. The case itself is quite a small one. It's actually a little bit smaller than what I was expecting, but with a little bit of forethought I've managed to squeeze it all in very nicely, and a couple of radial cooling fans as well, so there's plenty of cooling there involved, and it's actually worked out to be a very nice case. It's nice and compact, it looks nice and neat as well, so I think I'm confident the customer is going to feel very happy and very pleased with his purchase at the end of it. There was talk originally of a potential for 3 of these units. They went with 1 first, so from my perspective I'm hoping obviously they're going to be pleased enough then to place order for more. On the strength of this then as well, in this video, which is half the reason why we make these videos, I think it will also appeal to other people, other customers that don't particularly want a full-blown charge case but want a power supply mounted in a case that is obviously a little bit more impact resistant, should I say, and a little bit more protected. From my perspective as well, with this design, the way I've got it, I could almost remove a couple of the outputs I think and replace that with one of these small ISDT Q6s, or even one of the iCharger X6 or X8 units would actually fit in, I think, quite nicely, because obviously then I can move the outputs around that are on the deck because they'd be no longer needed, and replace them with obviously the charger cradle, which I've started designing admittedly already for an X6. So that could obviously, that would be another spawn of this case and deck design, if you like, in that then I can also remove some bits and replace it with a charger cradle, so that will make quite a nice small charging case as well, for the RC and UAV community again. So but anyway, without further ado, because I know not many of you really want to watch and I'm going to like waffle on too much, I'm going to turn the phone round and I'm going to show you the case itself. So here it is. It's a little smaller case, This is a Max 300. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you the specs. So, usual typical case. And this one, I've kept it watertight as well. I've made no holes in it, front, back, left or sides. So that's good. So when it's closed, it's away from the elements. I've got, again, this laminated acrylic for use on the lasers. It's absolutely brilliant. Such a simple little thing, realistically. It actually works really well. So that's obviously my legend plate on the front. So let's open it up. Open the lid, and as you can see, there's the deck. As far as decks go, it's relatively simple. It's fuss free and everything else. I've gone for 3 air inlet slots along the front, and there's method for the fact that there's a gap in the middle of them, if you like, and that is because obviously I've got the power supplies mounted under here on, again, custom designed 3D printed brackets, and they fall here. So if I tried to cut another air slot here, I wouldn't have had the mounting point for the bracket. So that's why you've got the large expanse here in between these 3 slots. So that works quite good. Again, at the end of this video, as per normal, I'll append a load of pictures that obviously I've taken of the case. It will make more sense when you see the underside and stuff and how it's laid out. So obviously starting from the right hand side, we've got one of the radial fans with a mesh grill that I spray painted black, and obviously then that's sunk in and clamped in place. We've got the 24 volt output on an XT90, and then obviously the rotary isolator switch then, so it's currently in the off position. Turn it on, and then of course then when AC is connected, this will give 24 volts. Turn it back off. The middle output, 12 volt output. On an XT60, I wanted to make them slightly different. Originally they wanted the same connector, but I said to be on the safe side, I would go with a smaller connector for the 12 volts, just in case then, because obviously potentially there aren't going to be many 12 volt chargers with an XT90 connector, so then you lessen the chance of accidentally putting 24 volts into something that shouldn't be taking more than 12 or 18 volts. So that's worked out quite good. And again, also you can see my 3D printed holders are doing their duty nicely there. So that works nice. And again, rotary isolator switch then, so they can turn off the 12 volt one. Now this was the other one that they wanted, the 5 volt output. Again, I've gone for an XT60 on that. So that's basically a buck converter then is taking the 24 volts and then bucking it down, and then obviously providing 5 volts output. Then above that, IEC, AC mains input connector then at the top, and then cooling fan on the other side. Now the eagle-eyed among you will notice that the vent outlets are staggered differently. Normally in my charge cases, when I've got the room to do so, I will make them in line, because obviously the way the fan is on this one, it's the bulk of it is up the top here, and then on this one the bulk of it then is at the bottom. But due to space constraints within this case, I couldn't do that. So I actually thought, look, I tell you what, I'm going to run with them not being symmetrical, and it doesn't look too out of place, even though perhaps your OCD perhaps plays tricks on your minds and thinks, oh, they're not in line, but it doesn't look too bad. So I'm quite pleased with the way it's worked out, and it was just a necessity really with this case. So no fancy lights, no fancy logos, not really much else to show. I can obviously plug it in, turn it on. The only noise you're going to get potentially is from the cooling fans. As they start up, they're obviously wired in to come on as soon as the mains is connected and the power supplies are on. So then these 2 outputs currently are not outputting anything because the switch is in the off position, but the 5 volt is. That'll be giving constant power now while the PSUs are on. That's about it. It's obviously quite a small case. In fact, if I can reach my tape measure and open it up one-handed or two-handed if I'm very careful, might be able to give you a rough idea of the size. So that is, yeah, give or take 335 wide by 270 deep. So it's quite a nice small case. Yep, fans are all working well. no LEDs or nothing. It's just a plain simple power supplying case only. Obviously you'll see from the photographs how everything's squeezed in at the bottom. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with it. It's worked out really nice. So as per normal, thanks for looking. If you like what you see, please comment, like, share, and if you need charge cases or power supply case now, give me a shout. Thank you for looking. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.